Okay, so we are live, ladies and gentlemen. A little bit of a new setup. I've got some new gadgets. I've got a new camera that I'm trialing, and I've got a new microphone. So I've not got the headphones on. So if it's all working, I'd really appreciate a heads up. I'll tell you what, let me just, there we go. Move that upwards a little bit. There we go. So look, I've tried to do several recordings on this. I've tried to get my thoughts out, and then I'll see a video or I'll see a news briefing which will tend to put a little bit of a different slant on things. Fantastic. Cheers, Ryan. Thanks for that. So I've actually recorded now, truth be told, since this is all done, and probably about 3 videos that have not made it onto the channel. I've recorded it, I've done all the editing, I've done all the bits and pieces, and then there'll be a new development that will come out. So in the end, I've just sort of said, you know what? I'm just going to put a video out. I'm going to go live. I'll see what you guys are saying, and we'll just go from there. Now, look, I'm going to say this right from the get-go. I'm not an ITK. I've never professed to be an ITK. I'm just a regular fan, same as all of you guys, right? I'm watching all of these YouTube channels, all of these news outlets that are coming out with different bits of information, and it's very fluid, very changing, and a lot of it is matters of opinion, matters of speculation. We're all going to put 2 and 2 together, and sometimes we might make 4, and sometimes we might make 36. That's just the nature of the beast. So I'm just going to go with how I see things, and obviously I'd be really interested to know what all of you guys think, either live or if you're watching this subsequently. Okay, so my usual advertising bit, I'm going to get that out the way. So if you could drop a like on the stream and give us a hype if you have got one available, that is what pushes the content out to places it otherwise wouldn't get. Share this onto your social media platforms. That will also boost the reach a little bit further. And if you're not already subscribed to the YouTube channel, if I can draw your attention to that nice little QR code in the top left-hand corner, if you scan that with your mobile device, that will take you to our YouTube subscription page. Subscribing is free, data safe, and only takes a couple of seconds of your time. All it does is help to grow the channel into something bigger and better than it is as you currently find it. And as always, we thank you very much indeed for your support. So come and join us on the journey. Okay, so cast your mind back to the Panorama episode. Obviously, in the immediate aftermath of that, Mr. Sullivan, our then chairman, and still, it needs to be noted, still our major shareholder with a 38.8% shareholding, relinquished his position as the chairman of the club and a seat on the board of directors. Very soon after that, there was a quote attributed to, I believe, both Daniel Křetínský and Vanessa Gold, which basically alluded to that they were in dialogue. There was a loose agreement, shall we call it, to sell a quantity of Vanessa Gold's shares to Daniel Křetínský. I believe the number, and I am going off the top of my head here, guys. So if I get anything wrong, I'm human. I've not made little notes and all the rest of it. I am doing this on the fly. This is completely natural. But as I remember, it was approximately 15 odd %, which would leave Vanessa with 10%. It would put Daniel on 43%, which would make him the major shareholder at the club. He and Vanessa are at this moment in time co-chair persons, to give it its name, I guess. So fine, no problem. And obviously, as time's rattled on, there's been basically dead silence until the last couple of days. Aligned with that is our lack of incomings on the transfer front, which I think has probably caused quite a lot of concern amongst the fans, myself included. And then obviously interlinked with that, there was then also a lot of noise, a lot of speculation about Amanda Staveley. Her name came up into focus. And there was a photograph that was put out there which was purportedly Amanda Staveley, her husband, 𝐒𝐬𝐭, and I believe someone from the LLDC looking around London Stadium, the outside perimeter. Whether they got inside or not, I don't know. But it's believed that they were having a scope around of London Stadium, checking it out and one thing and another. Now, at the time, and I did a video about this, at the time, a lot of people, myself included, believed that Amanda was very likely to make a play for at least a quantity or maybe the entirety of the 38.8% shareholding of David Sullivan. He was obviously sitting at home. He's got a lot of things on his plate, as that Panorama documentary would have probably been the large catalyst towards that. Fine. I believed at that time that what was very likely to happen was that Amanda would purchase that shareholding. And as I was led to understand, Amanda Staveley and Daniel Křetínský know one another. I'm not saying they're best friends. I'm not saying they go to each other's houses for dinner party. I'm not even saying they know when each other's birthdays are. Nothing like that. But they have crossed paths with one another at various points in time. And as I was led to understand, there was a degree of respect that was mutual. And I believed at that point in time that one thing that could unfold potentially would be for Amanda Staveley to purchase the David Sullivan shareholding, and there would be an agreement in place that despite the fact that Daniel would have 43% thereabouts, Amanda would only have 38.8%. I think that because Daniel could recognise that what Amanda Staveley did at Newcastle United in dragging them up from basically the bottom of the Premier League to what they went on to later achieve under her tenure, that Daniel is very much someone that operates in the shadows. He will have a shareholding in a company like Royal Mail, Sainsbury's, whatever, and just sort of like put other people in place to do the rest, the heavy lifting. So fine, no problem. That was what I believed. Now fast forward to a little bit later on, and then David Sullivan starts making noises about, paraphrasing here, he wants Premier League money for his shareholding, which I think a lot of people, myself included, thought was a little bit far-fetched for a championship club that doesn't own their own ground. And then the last couple of days have happened, which have changed things quite dramatically. So that deal, that loose arrangement that was apparently in place between Křetínský and Vanessa Gold, for whatever reason, has hit the buffers. Whether it's cold feet on Daniel's part, whether there's something from Vanessa Gold's side of things that have got in the way, I don't really know. But the upshot of it is that deal is now, it appears to be dead in the water. And it appears that Amanda Staveley has now made a play for the Vanessa Gold shares, not just the 15% that Daniel was looking to purchase, though. She's looking to buy the whole 25.1%. And it appears that a price has been agreed of £160 million, which values the club at approximately 640 million? I think it is. Yeah, £640 million, there or thereabouts, right? It also, it should be noted, by virtue of that fact, that there's a certain Mr. Sullivan now sitting there, and he's worked out, the same as probably we all can, that, well, if Amanda Staveley's just bought 25.1% of the club for 160 million quid, my 38.8%, therefore, on that basis, are worth 250 million pounds. So he's probably sitting there rubbing his hands, isn't he? Meanwhile, Daniel Křetínský is sitting there fuming. I think it's fair to say, because he probably thought, yeah, okay, great, we got this deal in place. I'll get to 43%. I'll be able to do this, that, and the other. He's probably had all sorts of things in his plate, in his mind to sort of like get ironed out over the course of time, and bang, it's all gone a little bit pear-shaped, as I say, for reasons I know not. Now, I made a few little notes here. I'm just going to click that. I will cover your comments, guys. Do forgive me. I think Daniel feels blindsided, I think is the word. I think he probably feels that he had a deal in place, a loose arrangement, and now for whatever reason it's gone tits up. As I say, David Sullivan is sitting there jumping for joy because he's going, well, the championship club that doesn't own its own ground can still have a valuation attached to it. That means that my shareholding is worth 250 mil. Thank you very much. What does this mean for the club? What does this mean for the club? Because whilst there's all this wrangling going on, while there's all this toing and froing between Vanessa Gold, Daniel Křetínský, Amanda Staveley, we're inching ever closer to the start of the new season. We still haven't made any signings. Now, there's been a quotation put out there that says that this situation isn't going to impact on the running of the football club. You'll have to forgive me, but I think it's done precisely that. I don't know because I'm not an ITK. I'm not a top-ranking businessman, businesswoman, whatever. I don't know how these takeovers of top-level football clubs work. I'm just an average fan. And a lot of what I say is opinion and not fact. So I could get things wrong. In fact, I very frequently do. I'm going to hold my hands up to that one. But if you're telling me that all of this toing and froing in the background, all this lack of clarity of who is actually in charge, who is calling the shots, who's employing people, who's laying people off, and we don't really know who's got those levers to pull, and you're actually telling me that this won't affect the running of the club, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. It has to affect the running of the club. It can't not affect the running of the club. You've got to be kidding me. And then you look at simultaneously, we're sitting here and we've lost since the Premier League ended last season, which confirmed our relegation. We've lost numerous players, either because their contracts have ended, their loan agreements have ended, or we've sold them. And the only player that we've brought in was a player that was already in the building, and we just activated the loan into a purchase, namely 𝐂𝐰𝐳. For the princely sum of us, I believe it to be 1 million pounds. 100 million pounds? No, I believe it was 1 million pound, not 100 million pounds. And all that time, and there's still speculation about other players, if you please, that will be moving on. There's still speculation about players like Todibo and Wan-Bissaka and Diouf and Tati. And I've also got a degree of concern that's now beginning to come into focus about Jarrod Bowen. And I'll tell you for why. Jarrod Bowen obviously had that conversation that we know about with Daniel Křetínský and his number 2, Jiří Schwarz, right? And there was that photograph of the three of them. They're all beaming like Cheshire cats. And he's come out and he said that he's going to do this, that, and the other. And then moving on from that, we've made no signings whatsoever. And now there's this power struggle that's going on in the boardroom, which if you're Jarrod Bowen, you're probably sitting there and going, this wasn't what I signed up for. And it now makes me a little bit worried about Jarrod and what he's thinking. And the transfer window's still open. Now, I don't think he would, but just suppose he was particularly this way inclined. I don't think you'd be too surprised if a player that was made certain promises or intimations or whatever it is, and now he's finding himself, well, we've still not signed anyone. I was given all this talk about we're going to bring reinforcements in, we're going to strengthen. Keeping key players is fine, but we do need to strengthen. And we haven't. And the season is about to start, and there is less than a month left of this transfer window. I was also told that there was stability in the boardroom. There was an agreement between you, Daniel, and you, Vanessa. And now I'm seeing that that agreement has hit the buffers, and it's all a little bit going Pete Tong. And you do sit there and go, what's he thinking? What's Jared Bowen thinking about this? Anyway, be interesting to see how this all plays out. I'm just going to jump into the chat and see who's in there. How you doing, Ryan? Hope you are well. Look, it got you to click on the button, didn't it? So yeah, and thanks for letting me know that the mic's working. It's a new little microphone. I've got a new little camera here, so just trying out a new little setup. So morning, Damien. Hope you are well. Let's see what you guys are thinking. The news keeps changing so much, mate. So I know how you feel with all the constant recordings. Yeah, I've done 3-4 recordings. I'm doing the editing, and then something changes, and it's just so I just thought, you know what? I'll go live. I'll go live, and I'll just get it off my chest in real time and see what you guys think. So just a few little good mornings going back and forth. Just sort of click through that. And Ryan, yep, appreciate that, mate. Thank you for that. And if any of you guys don't know who Ryan is, I'm sure you do, but Ryan is a member of That's West Ham channel. He does regular shows with his Nana Jan, and they have a little chat amongst themselves, which I think is beautiful. So if you're not already subscribed, go and have a look at That West Ham channel. Give them a subscribe, give them your love. How you doing, Hammer 75? So 42%. You'll take it you're on about. That's the shareholding that Daniel was looking to obtain. As I say, I'm doing this completely off the top of my head. I knew it was around about that number. So yeah, as I say, if there's any of the numbers that I've quoted that are slightly off kilter, like I say, it is what it is. So yeah, now this is the thing. This is the thing, and this is what I always think that a lot of things have been about with West Ham, basically since it was agreed that there was going to be an Olympics in Stratford in 2005. I think that anyone with half a brain probably looked and went, well, wait a minute, there's a Premier League club up the road. And then obviously things have gone from there. The agreement was put in place. Originally, we were going to own the stadium. People might conveniently forget that, but we were going to own that stadium. And it was only when Barry Hearn and Daniel Levy kicked off that it all went back into the melting pot. And then it was agreed that it was going to be a 99-year lease, which is a deal that works for nobody, quite frankly. It doesn't work for West Ham fans. It doesn't work for London taxpayers. Does it work for West Ham as a club? Probably as a business it does. If you're only looking at it from a business sort of pounds and pence point of view, probably it does, because it's quite a cheap rent. I think people would call it a peppercorn rent, and they might have a point. But in terms of all of the other things like atmosphere and one thing and another, I'm not quite sure it does work. And I firmly believe, and it's been proven, that footprint that stadium is on is absolutely immense. Absolutely immense. If you could reconfigure that stadium, you could reconfigure that stadium, whether you could do it in stages or whether you'd have to knock it down completely and start again. I'm not a structural engineer, so I don't know how it would work. But you could build a stadium on that land on probably a third of the land that you've got there, free up the rest, and then you could have the rest for a commercial residential space, which is obviously a little bit of bunts, it's fair to say. So I think probably that's ultimately what the ideal situation, the ideal solution would be to all of this. And of course, like I say, it's all about the money, isn't it? Let's be completely honest. We did get lucky that we got plunked into the middle of it. DS will sell to a man stay. I think there's every possibility. I mean, I've heard rumours that once Staveley's got her hooks into the 25.1% of Vanessa Gold, that her next move is to get the 38.8% of David Sullivan. Now, obviously there's a lot of things, as I understand it. There's like what do they call it? I can't remember what the phrase is, but it's basically a period of time whereby when someone from the outside of the boardroom is looking to purchase shares from a board member, then there's a period of time where the other board members have a period of time where they can step into the fray. I believe it's 60 days. I believe it's 60 days. Like I say, I don't operate in boardroom shenanigans, so a lot of these things don't make an awful lot of sense to me. I read certain little bits and pieces and I sort of shrug my shoulders and go, oh, okay, fair enough. But as I understand it, there's a period of time where the other shareholders, Daniel Křetínský, etc., can look to purchase the shareholding from Vanessa Gold. The thing that I then push back against with that is that, correct me if I'm wrong, but Vanessa Gold has had those shares up for sale for the best part of 2 years. And at any point in time during that, David Sullivan, Daniel Křetínský, all of them could have purchased the shares from Vanessa up to this point in time. Now, for whatever reason, that's not happened. Why would it happen now? Maybe if Daniel felt that he wanted to wrestle power conclusively at London Stadium, he could, but he's had an opportunity, and like I say, for whatever reason, it's not happened. So he's got a little bit of a bee in his bonnet, and like I say, from what I understand, he is angry. We don't really need this resentment, this anger in the boardroom. As I say, they're saying it's not going to affect the running of the club. I'm not entirely convinced I believe them. But David Sullivan, like I say, by virtue of the £160 million valuation for the 25.1% shareholding for Vanessa Gold, like I say, do the maths. David Sullivan's shareholding is 250 million worth. So, Stephen, hope you're well. Could this takeover be a blessing for us? Proper football people as our owner, not just a business. They did an amazing job at Newcastle. I will say that. That is the one thing I will say. That do I relish all of this back and forth and all of this uncertainty in the boardroom? Not really. But am I pleased with the fact that someone that's a proven operator at a top level club, I keep having to sort of stop myself from saying a Premier League club because we're not, but she proved that she could turn. And if you can find me a Newcastle fan that thinks that she did a bad job, I'll be very surprised. I've not come across one yet. So I think her getting involved is good in and of itself. I think it's the circumstances, how it's happening is, like I say, my original thoughts were she would get involved by purchasing a quantity or the entirety of David Sullivan's shareholding. That may still happen, but initially it looks like it's going to be the Vanessa Gold shareholding that she's going to. I think Daniel would have been happy for Amanda Staveley to purchase David Sullivan's shareholding and probably let Amanda do the running of the club and all the rest of it. But I think the way that this has come around, where it's now Vanessa Gold shareholding that she's getting, bearing in mind that there was that agreement in place, I think that's what's probably got to put his nose out of joint. And it would just be interesting to see, is he able to shake that off? I sense that hopefully at some rates, I wouldn't be surprised if he has agreed to give Gold some money on the back end. Possible, Damien. Marky boy, hope you are well. I was one. Was you? Okay. Okay. Didn't know that, Marky. Okay, so you are the one that sent the pic of Amanda Staveley and her husband looking around London Stadium to Gonzo, Mark Carlo, Stelios and Dan Loyalist. I remember being told at the time it was fake. I'm vindicated. There you go. There you go. So you heard it here first. I didn't get a pic of it. Just saying. I'm only joking, mate. I'm only joking. I'm small fry, so it's fine. I know my place. I know my place. But no, listen, right place, right time, Marky boy. Absolutely. Well done. I know what he is, but he always said he'll sell to the right persons for the club's best interests or whatever. I think Amanda falls under the category. I agree. I think she absolutely does. Can you imagine if Sullivan takes up the option of the 13%? It's possible, Darren. It's possible, but I just don't see it. I think he wants out. I don't, like I say, I'm a football fan. I'm not an ITK. I don't know. I've never met David Sullivan, never interacted with him in any way, shape, or form. So I don't know what he's thinking. But like I say, Vanessa Gold's shares have been up for sale for about 2 years before anyone knew about a panorama expose that was coming. Or at least as far as I'm aware anyway. Unless it was in the melting pot for a lot longer than that. And there are rumours. But anyway, he could have purchased a quantity of that or the entirety of Vanessa Gold's shareholding, and he hasn't. Why would he do it now when he's no longer a board member, when he's no longer the chairman, when his name's mud, when I don't see there's any way back for him? Why would he purchase another 13% of the club? I don't really see it make sense. He's come out and said that he wants Premier League money. I don't think that is really someone that says that is someone that wants to increase their shareholding. I think that's someone saying, make me an offer and you can have what I've got and I'll go. I don't think he's taking up that 13%, mate. I don't. Bremer, this is a mess. And here we're thinking we were entering a new and better era. They want us to get promoted in the first season, but we can't even decide who runs things. We don't look a changed club. It is chaotic. That is the thing that concerns me. It is very, very chaotic. As I say, we're not making any signings. It's very, very chaotic. It's completely the opposite of what we wanted, really. Křetínský announced he was going to buy some gold shares to become the majority shareholder, but sat on his hands. Yes. Amanda Staveley offered over the top for all of gold shares. She knows the others won't match that price. Well, as I understand it, Marky Boy, is it not that there's now going to be not like purse bids in boxing, but there's going to be a rounds of where the other shareholders will have an opportunity to make counter bids, as I understand it. If they can match Amanda Staveley's price, then they will get first refusal, as I understand it, as existing shareholders. I believe that's how it works. So if Daniel can match or better the price that has been agreed between Staveley and Gold, then I believe that Křetínský has the first refusal on it. That's as I understand it. I don't necessarily think that that's what will happen, because I think there was, like I say, Daniel's had the opportunities you've rightly said, and nothing's happened. So is he now going to purchase a price that is more than what he was looking to purchase during the previous talks with Gold? Probably not. And business is business. So morning, Sullivan and Křetínský will operate the club from the shadows. Staveley and her consortium will be the face of the club. An interesting perspective. I certainly hope Sullivan's got nothing to do with it. I hope he stays away. But he's got 38.8% of the club. So none of these can compete with her consortiums. Fair enough. Staveley won't pay over the top for shares to remain in the shadows. No way. She's ruthless. She'll want 100%. Well, like I say, Marky Boy, she's looking to get the 25.1%. There's talk that she'd look to make a play for the 38.8% of Sullivan. I'm also hearing that she wants to get her hooks into London Stadium and buy it, and then obviously do what she wants to do there, reconfigure the stadium. I mean, that would be brilliant. Turn it into a football stadium. I guess that the motivation for them is financial. That's the reason that business people do what they do. It's always to do with the bottom line. And that's fine. If we get a football stadium out of it, and if we can strengthen from where we are now and get back to the Premier League and stabilise and do what we always wanted to do, just every now and again qualify for Europe and get even a cup run, I'd be happy with that. That's just me. Why didn't we re-sign Adama Traore? I don't know all the ins and outs there. So she sat there in that media interview telling the journalist she raised £1 billion to take over a struggling asset. She's now buying 25% of West Ham. Why can't people put 2 and 2 together? Yeah, I saw that interview as well. She was very coy. In fact, they actually mentioned West Ham, didn't they? And she was very coy in her response and sort of like, well, you never know. So CF and centre forward and left winger would make a huge difference. I think left wing. Here's an idea, and I thought about this the other day. Could we play Scholes at left back and Diouf at left wing? I don't know. It's an idea. Bowen only had interest from Everton and Villa. He'd been mad to go with modified contracts. But if he feels that what he was told and what's happened are 2 different things, and he feels let down, who knows? Bowen was sold the dream by Křetínský of how he wanted the club to move on. I would argue that Staveley is even more ambitious. Maybe, but I guess Bowen's had a conversation with Křetínský. He's not had a conversation with Staveley. So could he feel let down? Could he feel led up the garden path? I don't know. I agree. I think Sully is pulling some of the strings. Until he sells up, I'm not convinced anything will change. That's always the concern, isn't it? He's still got 38.8% shareholding at the club. Is he completely not involved? I don't know. I'm not in the boardroom. Club operations will stay the same. This will take 60 days to go through. Yeah, that's the number that I've heard, 60 days. The money from Fernandez and Somerville is club money, not Křetínský's. Thank you. Appreciate you, Hammer. Really do. Thank you for that. And Damien's just saying it's barely enough to clear the debts. Why not take a loan out and buy some quality? No worries, Ryan. You're very welcome. No, I got them wrong, mate. Sorry, don't worry. No probs. Doesn't WH still have unpaid transfer debts to pay? Possibly. You probably find most clubs do. There's always debt, and there's always debt that the club will be owed by and large. So we need to push now. I take it you're on about transfers. I mean, we needed to push with that weeks ago, to be fair. I'm really concerned now. I don't care about the cup. I would be like Moyes. That's my 11. Play the game, rest and repeat. Fair enough. Welcome, mate. Hope Nan's well also. Yep, fine. Moyes cared more about quality than depth. Yeah, he liked to work with quite a small squad, didn't he? He said that on more than one occasion. So I need the lawyers West Ham had when they made that LS deal. I think we all do, mate. We all do. Deal of the century. Damien, that's on Křetínský. I'm convinced the club think that this squad plus some kids will win us the league. We'll be lucky to make the playoffs. I think the only thing I'd say to that is the playoffs go down to 8th place now, don't they? Between 3rd and 8th. So if we don't make 8th, Marky boy, then yeah, it's a sad state of affairs. Nan's doing all right, thanks, mate. Me and Nan did our show last night. Somehow we went on for nearly 3 hours. You did. Marathon session. This won't be that long, I tell you that much. Was there for a while. Yeah, I just popped in very quickly whilst I was buzzing around. The cost for that would be 2 billion upwards. First priority is getting back to the Premier League. That's absolutely correct. That is first priority above all else. If you kept this squad and added a quality left winger and a quality centre forward, you could sack the cup off and just focus on the league games. I'm a little uncomfortable sacking the cup off, or either cup. But that's just me. I like to go on a cup run, but I understand that trying to get promoted to the Premier League is the priority. So Daniel Křetínský could have bought 10%, not even 25% if he really wanted to. He could have bought what he wanted. You know, he could have, because he was sitting on 37%. No, sorry, 27%, I think he was sitting on. So for him to go above David Sullivan's shareholdings, he'd probably need to buy about 12% there or thereabouts. He could have bought the 12%. I mean, I believed he was going to buy 15% of gold sharing. So she's overpaid, hasn't she, for that 25% too? She wants to get the deal done. So she's sort of like, it's a bit like 𝐂𝐻𝐿 with Somerville, isn't it? 40 odd million. He was going to Roma. They turn up and they go, Have a look at that. And then he's off to 𝐿𝐼𝐴. So money talks. Other shareholders have the option to buy a percentage of shares in relation to their ownership. This is the one. At Amanda Staveley's price, if only one agrees, he must purchase the 25.1% at Amanda Staveley's price or drop out. Yep, exactly that. That was pretty much what I was trying to say in a rather cumbersome way, probably. £80 million offer from Daniel Křetínský versus £160 million from Staveley. I know which one I would take. Doesn't take too much thought, does it? Really. Colin, hope you're well. Staveley could be good. It is becoming a mess, this takeover. It is becoming rather unsatisfactory, I would suggest. Wasn't she seen with a rep from the owners of the land? Yeah, as I say, well, Marky Boy in the chat, he's the one that took that photograph, as he's just said a little bit earlier. So I'm not saying anything that's secret. He's actually already said it on this stream. He took that photograph. I don't know who that person with, but I believe that it's someone from the mayor's office. So it was always going to be hostile. Sullivan wants too much. She has the funds to call his bluff. Křetínský has a decision to make now. Amanda Staveley will want 100%. Watch this space. I can send you a pic, but I'm not sure it's a pic you'd like to receive. Stop it. Stop it. Glad pre-season is over. Nuno should have his strategy sorted out. That is what pre-season is for, trial and error. That is correct. Staveley knows exactly what she's doing. I agree with that. And so does Two Dragons. It's only positive. Dithering Dan has messed up. Yep. He appears to have, taken too long to get his things in order. One dragon has personal wealth. The other has big money partners. Exactly that. I got no notification for this, 𝐂𝐜𝐽𝐻. It's probably because I did it quite late, sort of, just an impromptu thing. I just went, oh, whatever. Sorry about that, John. I've put my morning coffee on hold just in case. Is this the new West Ham way? I wonder. What a shit show. It's really not satisfactory, I think is putting it politely. DS wants a strategic exit, but with a thick wallet, regardless of whether he is diluted. Like I say, the Staveley offer basically means that David Sullivan's shareholding effectively is worth 250 mil if you do the maths. The existing shares have two options to bid for gold shares or buy. Sorry, no, that's fine. I think Daniel Křetínský is asset rich, not cash rich like Staveley and her consortium, hence the delay. Yeah. Afternoon. Well, it might be afternoon where you are. It's 11:09 in the morning where I am. But nonetheless, wish you a good day. I reckon Daniel Křetínský procrastinated, thinking he was going to get them cheaper, but Vanessa allowed him to be gazumped. In short, Daniel Křetínský sold us fibs. Did he? Yeah. It's one way of looking at it, I suppose. There's a lot of people that don't trust what Daniel Křetínský said. Bit like the previous chairman. Nobody trusted him either. Obviously, Vanessa Gold wants to sell their shares. They must have already asked the board, who did not want to commit. Now we're in the champ, and Staveley has jumped in. 𝐂𝐜𝐽𝐻, I want to know who Staveley's backers are. That would be interesting to know, because have they got the club at heart? Because I think this is down to the land issue again. Yeah, I don't think they're doing it for love. I think they're doing it for profit, Colin, as any business person would do. I don't think Staveley's got any real. I don't think she grew up with the claret and blue on her bedroom wall. Far from it. She's from Yorkshire, and I don't really think that West Ham would have been part of her DNA. So this is not out of love. This is out of, we want to make a few quid. What a mess this club is right now. Sullivan really has left West Ham in the shit after 16 years. He's left us in a worse financial state than when he first came in. I don't disagree with you. Staveley replacing Gold is a good thing. It's just if the three select sections of the board can pull together now. Yeah, at one point it looked like it was all very harmonious, but now less so. Even though we know Amanda Staveley is an investor, not an owner, but she will hopefully bring in some serious money men. I think the Reuben brothers are rumoured to be there or thereabouts. They've apparently got, as I've read, an £800 million war chest. So 160 million pound of it is going to purchasing the gold shares. So that will leave approximately 640 million quid. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Křetínský has been happy to be a silent partner of a shit show. Surely he would be happy to be a silent partner of a well-run club. Maybe he would. Maybe he would, Damien. Maybe he's not that asked about it. We don't look ready in the boardroom. We don't look ready on the pitch. I think we've taken one step forward, two back. I wonder if Daniel Křetínský said what he said about the future when he said it to sell the season tickets. I've heard this rumor floating around. I'm not sure I believe it. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I think most of the reason why the season ticket sales did so well is that this is the first season after David Sullivan has left the boardroom. I know he's still got 38.8% of the shares, but he has left the boardroom. So I think that's the real reason why most of the people have either A, renewed in the championship, or B, come back after having left previously. So yeah, I'm not sure I buy that myself, but it's a theory and it might be right. Oh, you went to Rangers as well. We both said we think Scholes will play left back and Diouf left wing. I think it's an option. I think it's a better option than Ward-Prowse and Cornet. The concern now is the transfer funding. If Křetínský had the okay from the board to send 60 mil, that might be put on hold now for a bid for shares to come in. Exactly that. I'm just going to quickly go through. I want to wrap this up soon. I agree just about putting a squad together. Good enough to win the league now. Everyone's a winner if we can get promoted. We have bigger debt than we think. Ooh, and also Křetínský is set to sell his stake in 𝐼𝐴. Yeah, I've heard that. In fact, I think that was 160 mil as well. We'll see. Just having a little scroll through. Forgive me, guys. Karim said it was a mess. Ooh, not good. To raise the value of the club and for the future, getting out of this league is paramount. The board have the money to spend after them two sales. I agree, Mandy. Apologies, you didn't. Listen, don't worry about it, Marky boy. It's not, honestly, I was pulling your leg. I understand that I'm not, if this photo was going to go somewhere, it needs to go somewhere where it's going to get the most amount of coverage, and that ain't here. That ain't here. So Gonzo and all of the others that you forwarded it onto, it's completely the right place that you put it, mate. I've got no problem with that. So not a problem. It wasn't intentional. As I say, fine. I'm an on and off subscriber going way back to when you used to do the channel with Duke. Yes, back in the old days. I kind of dip in and out. Apologies, mate. You don't need to apologize. It's absolutely fine. I'm pulling your leg. It's absolutely fine. So, oh, look, we have got an interloper. Wonderful. Let me have a little look. So, let me press some buttons. And that. Excellent. Get rid. I think that's worked. I have to put someone on a naughty step. Sorry about that. I didn't see this. Let me press that button. Goodbye. Banned. So anyway. Right. I am going to disappear. Yeah. Sorry about that, Mandy. Sorry about that. There's always one, isn't there? There's always one that's got to come in and just cause a bit of a rumpus. I don't understand it myself. There you go. Are you being serious? I can do it. If you want, I can make you a moderator. That's not a problem. Make Damien a moderator. Oh, yeah, I could do that. If you two are up for it, just yeah, mate. Yeah, okay. I will do that. Let me I'll do that after the stream's finished. I'd have to go into YouTube and do a few little jiggery pokery. Oh, and Ryan, you'll be one as well. Okay, I'll tell you what. I've got 3 moderators there. Okay, that's fine. No problem. No problem at all. You can then get out the big spanner, and when these idiots come in, you can just go hit them over the head. So anyway, look, this was just, it was hopefully going to be a quick one. It's lasted 45 minutes. So anyway, just wanted to get my thoughts out there and see what your thoughts were. And as I say, look, I'm not an ITK. I'm not in the boardroom. What I'm saying is my opinions and what I believe, and what I believe could be wrong. So anyway, I am going to disappear. But as I say, before you all decamp, if you could just make sure you drop a like on the stream, give us hype. If you've got one available, share this onto your socials if possible. If any of you are not subscribed to the channel, then no, I always get this bit wrong. Over there, there is a QR code. If you get out your mobile device and scan that, that will take you to the YouTube subscription page. Subscribing is free, data safe, and only takes a couple of seconds of your time. All it does is help to grow the channel into something bigger and better than it is as you find it. And we're going on a journey together. Excellent work. So anyway, look, appreciate all of your time. And until the next time, see you again soon. Come on, you irons.